I just got to the skate park and I'm gonna take you through a 30-minute session. So let's get warmed up. Make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss a single video from us. Let's get started. The thing about warming up is you're not trying to be a great skateboarder yet. I feel like the biggest mistake that people make is they judge themselves from their warm-up. The only rule for warming up is make sure you get warmed up. Who knows if today's gonna be the day you land that trick that you want to or not. Pay attention to your body. Make sure you get your hips loose. Make sure you wake up your ankles. Feel your wheels on the ground. Feel how sticky the ground is. Take a look around. See what might be in store for you for that session. And just go from there. Thinking you're gonna have a good day or a bad day, just based on how your feet feel right away, I don't know, it's putting a lot of pressure on your session for no reason. Especially if you're sore or nursing an injury, you can use this time to really see how your body's feeling instead of just worrying what tricks you're gonna do. Also, being stressed about tricks doesn't actually help the trick happen. Like if you wanna make your first kickflip or you wanna grind the rail, it's like getting to the park and then freaking out about it isn't really helping anyone. Once you get your blood flowing, your body will wake up and your joints will be more mobile, your knees won't ache, your hips will loosen up, you'll get stronger, actually. Sometimes it just takes patience. During this time, make sure you're feeling how your trucks are turning, how fast your wheels are rolling. Mess with some foot positions so you can set your foundation up for the session. Your board's gonna react differently every day. There are like legitimate reasons for that, like your bushings will be a different density based on the temperature. Sure. But there's also things like you're just wearing your board out every time you skate it. Your trucks will sit a little bit differently, your bushings will act differently, your wheels and bearings, your shoes are more worn in than they were yesterday. Hopefully you have different clothes on. So it's truly a different setup every single day. You can't pretend like you have a perfectly pristine skateboard. Sometimes you're just gonna have to ride it around and feel it. Like my trucks don't feel as good today as they felt yesterday. But that happens. I like sliding my wheels around and scraping my tail. I mean, if there was one thing I could do for a warm-up, it's this skill right there. You can adjust the way you move your front foot, your balance, the way you push your back foot. And it's not the easiest thing to do in the world, but it's super, super useful. All right, let's come over here and work on some manuals for the next 5 minutes. There is nothing more important than manuals. To practice manuals, I would recommend that you set aside 5 minutes every single day. And I like that strategy because you can. Nothing's stopping you. If you watch TV, go bring your board onto the carpet and watch your TV and try manuals for a little bit. Go to the garage. I don't really care how you do it. Stand on your board, pick the nose up, and try to hold it. It's really that simple. And it's great to practice because you don't have to jump. They're very low risk. And as you get better at them, the rest of your skating will improve. They're great for a warm-up. They're great for a cool down. There's really nothing wrong with manuals. What I'm focused on right now is just keeping a certain bend in my back knee and feeling my foot up against the tail in a specific way. I'm trying to get my switch manuals better. So what I'm focused on when I'm manualing my strong side is just how is my foot really sitting on the tail? Where am I feeling that weight in my foot? Is it more towards my heel? Is it more towards my tail? Do I feel my back leg stretch out to push the tail down as that front knee comes up? Do I feel myself sit in it and I'm just trying to genuinely lean over that back leg? Manuals are gonna feel a little bit different for everyone. This is why we wanna check it every single day and also just put in the time to get better. Sometimes it's easy to try to set aside 2 hours and figure out manuals in a day, but it seems like that's not really how it works. Manuals are a series of plateaus that you will break through over time. As a general rule of thumb, keep both knees bent, place the trucks directly underneath your head, the best you can. Your head will probably sit more towards the center of the board. That's fine. Take a standard foot position similar to like an ollie with your back foot so your toes are not hanging off the edge. Make sure your back foot's all the way on the tail. Drop your front foot lower on the board, just over halfway. Then shift that board forward in your stance so you load your back foot a little bit more. Keep both your knees bent and just slowly lift the front trucks up. After you lift the front trucks up, make sure that you push back on your front foot to hold those front trucks close to the ground. This will give you a lot of room to balance. A big mistake that I see is people holding their trucks too high. Then it's really easy to tap your tail or tail scrape accidentally. It's actually quite difficult to hold a manual with the nose this high. It's a lot easier if you push those front trucks down towards the ground. Try to hold them maybe an inch or two off the ground. Then you have a lot of room as you pick up and push down your front foot and you're not gonna do a bunch of tail scrapes. Also, this really helps if you wanna do ollies out of manuals because you need that space between your tail and the ground. I wouldn't worry about falling forward, right? This is like most people's problem. They get really worried about falling forward. So they start leaning back too much and then their manuals look like a wacky inflatable tube man. So what I would do is just be comfortable with your front wheels really light, maybe be able to tap them on the ground super light, shift that board more forward, and then bend both your knees and try to hold it like this. You should be making one adjustment at a time, not 100, right? If this is you, just stop. Just pick up your nose check what one adjustment does. Maybe bend your knee more. Can you hold it? Maybe shoot your hip out and lean forward, see what happens. But one adjustment at a time. All this stuff, when you're doing manuals, isn't gonna help you. Okay, I feel pretty good about where we're at with manuals. Let's get on to the next thing, which, if you know me at all, me and my skateboard, I'm gonna preach it till the day I die. Skate switch. And I don't mean skate switch like, okay, turn around and then try your hardest trick, switch, and then complain that switch is super hard. I mean, switch your stance. I mean, I'm a goofy skater. Now for the next 5 minutes, I'm a regular stance skateboarder. I'll hold my board in my left hand. When I throw down, my first step is now with my other foot. I'm gonna throw down and plant my new front foot on the board and try to be balanced. Stand up strong before I set my back foot down. Make sure I tap my back foot on the tail before I push a bunch of weight into it. Push really deliberately up and down banks. When I do this kick turn, I'm gonna stay facing forward. I'm not gonna let my habits break and go back to skating backwards. I'm gonna try to do my best to skate like a regular stance skateboarder, not like just standing on my skateboard backwards. I actually don't care when it comes to tricks. If you wanna do a switch heel flip and turn around, all the power to you. There are some things that are easier standing in a quote unquote switch stance. There are some things that are easier by facing forward. My thing is, you're never gonna learn how to face forward if you don't dedicate time to practice it, okay? You can get away with using habits you naturally build. If I'm skating goofy and then I practice nollies and I learn nollies and nollie heel flips and this and that, all I have to do is change directions. I can do the same thing. I didn't really learn a new skill. The new skill is switching your stance, is planting more weight on your front foot, is getting strong pushes where you can then turn with just one foot on the board, right? If you can swing your leg out, do a strong push, and turn left and right just on your weak front foot, you're way ahead of the game when it comes to skating switch. This just takes time and practice. And the reason we're dedicating 5 minutes to these skills is because don't underestimate the power of practicing something for a shorter period of time for over a long period of time, like 5 minutes a day for a month. It's probably more useful than 2 hours a day for 2 days and complaining a lot. We want you to have solid, nice nights sleep where you can practice something, focus on it, feel really good about your practice, then sleep on it and come back and do it again with minor improvements. We can treat this much like a warm-up in the middle of our session, right? But it's a more difficult warm-up, right? I'm just feeling my front foot on the board. I'm feeling if I can slide my wheels around at all. I like trying to hit my tail on the ground and scrape my tail around, okay? I can do some small fakie ollies, which are just nollies, but that's not the way my brain has it set up right now. The little things, like how I get on and off the board, how I pick up the board into my hand, all this stuff is backwards, but that's good fun. I think it's really important. It is a bit of a trip because the mic is probably gonna cut out over here. It is a bit of a trip because my eye says that, I mean, I can back 180 this A-frame gap. And I know how to do it logically, but when I set up my feet and when I try and jump, it just doesn't listen. I'm at that stage of switch skating where it's starting to fit my eye, but I'm not as good as my strong stance. So it's a little confusing. I remember when that happened on vert, I landed a stalefish or a switch backside air, and then I tried a alley-oop kickflip mute, and I couldn't even take off for it because I was skating switch and I forgot. I was like, oh, kickflip mute. Nothing happened. It's like, what the heck? All right. So we got through our basic warm-up manuals and skating switch. So now let's start getting up into the air. Let's work on some hippie jumps. Hippie jumps are important because this is the foundation that you build all of your tricks off of. Yeah, you know, fundamentally, tricks are in the air, right? Sure, you can slide around and spin all you want, but when we talk about skateboard tricks, you're gonna be jumping, you're gonna be hitting your tail, you're gonna be floating. So hippie jumps are our foundation that we can build tricks off of. If you struggle with hippie jumps as a beginner, this is a very simple way that you can do them comfortably. Put your front foot on the bolts, put your back foot on the tail, but closer to the bolts, okay? I don't want your back foot all the way super deep on the tail. Just put it somewhere comfortably in the middle. Take a half squat, hinge your upper body forward, all right? Your chest should face the ground in some sense, okay? Then jump by straightening your legs to get your feet off of the board. You shouldn't feel like you have to jump really high. You shouldn't feel like you have to look at the sky. Your hands don't even really have to go into the air. Just do very small jumps with having a lot of control of your chest. If you'd like to do hippie jumps that are a little bit harder, drop your front foot lower, similar to an ollie. Set your back foot up just a little bit more dynamically, a little bit more weight on the ball of your foot. And when you do your hippie jump, land back in that same foot position. Landing on the back half of the board is gonna be tough for a lot of people. I know it's tough for me personally, but jumping and landing in the same foot position is such a subtlety that it's easy to forget about. And then we have all of the fun stuff like hippie jump 180s. As you go blindside, that's gonna be a little bit harder. But jumping around on the skateboard is not only fun, it's important. And then we got the obvious progression of jumping a bit higher. And my personal favorite, jumping and landing in different foot positions. Our foot position is our connection to the skateboard. Everything that happens with the board goes through our feet. And it really surprises me how little people work on their own foot position. They don't test different foot positions. They don't really think past what seems like obvious to them. Like the best example is like, oh, I want a kickflip, so I put my foot here. It's like, why? Like, do you see any pro standing on the board with like 95% of their foot off of the skateboard? Like, it really, I could go on a tangent on this, but I won't. It does surprise me, people's strategy with foot position though. So for hippie jumps, I want you to take off and land in a bunch of different foot positions, because oftentimes coming out of tricks, you do not have the luxury of having a perfect foot position. Most of the time, you're gonna be landing with your feet in a ridiculous spot, and you're gonna have to fight for it, and you're gonna have to dance with the trick on the way out. There has been so many times where I'm coming out of a trick where I've wanted to land it for like an hour, and I'm like, in the most ridiculous position possible, just fighting for my life. That's a great skill that you can develop and you should develop at this early stage, okay? So we have both, where you can take off and land from the same foot position, and you can also take off and land from any foot position that you can balance on the skateboard. Ooh. Be creative, have fun. And maybe jerk. All right. That's about it for the hippie jumps. Let's move on to the next logical skill after we started jumping, which is, drum roll please, ollies. So for ollies, no matter what skill level you're at, the Ollie Complex is my favorite thing to work on. Okay, and that's just a 4-part drill where hippie jump from an ollie foot position, then a hippie jump where you lift the nose in the air, then you do the same thing, but you hit your tail on the ground. And then number 4 is just like hitting your tail on the ground, except you give it a little power and you try to get your tail in the air. So I'm gonna walk you through each stage of that and why it's important. When you squat, hold the weight on the balls of your feet and go in a straight line. Then push through your feet to get yourself in the air. Don't stress about the height of your jump. If there is anything that you stress about, it's about the balance of your jump and your confidence and your ability to get in the air just a little bit without judging yourself. The biggest mistake you'll make is trying to jump super high on a hippie jump because you think somebody's watching and laughing. It's really not that important. Just push through your feet, get any amount of height, land comfortably, stay on the balls of your feet, and skate in a straight line. Then we can take that skill and start lifting the front trucks up. All right, if you don't know how the front trucks get into the air, it's very simple. If your back foot is on the tail and you lift your front foot in the air, the trucks come up with you. There's no way to lift your front foot off of the board unless you put your tail on the ground and then pick it up. All right, you can step forward, backwards, side to side, all the way around. That board is stuck to your front foot. There's no way around it. So as you do your hippie jump, create a little bit of extra space from the ground with your front foot. The nose will follow you into the air, okay? This is important to make sure you're jumping off of both feet, or it might feel like you're jumping off your back foot. If your nose isn't coming in the air, even though you're picking it up, that just means you're jumping off of your front foot. You gotta make sure that you get a little bit of this floaty manual position on the way up and out. Same rules apply. Skate in a straight line. Don't jump too high. Make it consistent, confident, and remind yourself that simple practice will take you the furthest over a long period of time, and nobody's watching and laughing. Just have fun. So this next part is my favorite part of ollies, and this will be a combined hippie jump, hit the tail, and the ollie section. So changing the direction you pick up your front foot will create more or less space for your nose to get in the air. Okay? If I move my front foot backwards away from the nose as I jump, that creates a lot of space for the nose to get in the air. That's too much though, because that board is just gonna fly up. I wanna bring it up and a little bit away from the nose to let that tail hit the ground, okay? So let me just make sure we get one thing right, then we can move on. The tail hits the ground because the nose can rise enough. You're not gonna push the tail down hard enough to get the tail to the ground. That doesn't make any sense. It's not gonna go anywhere. I would break my tail before it hits the ground. If I don't lift my front foot. So I just have to create enough space with my front foot to get the nose high enough, bing, where the tail hits the ground, okay? I really want you to think about hitting the tail more akin to balance and space rather than power, okay? Balance means you're loading your back foot by sliding that board a little bit forward. We can treat it a bit like a manual. Good thing we spent 5 minutes on that earlier. And then as we jump, you're gonna create space from between the nose and the ground by getting your front foot up and out of the way. Okay, you're not gonna attack the nose with your front foot. You're not gonna create any space, okay? Take your time to visualize where this nose is really gonna go. If I pop my tail, look at where that nose comes up. It comes up and backwards. So I can visualize meeting the nose up and backwards in this spot here, right? So when I do my manual and when I do my hippy jump where I lift the nose, I can just imagine that nose hitting my front foot all the way back here, and you'll start to get a feel for it, okay? Don't get too caught up in the technical aspects. I want you to have a feel and an intuition for how you load that back truck, how you jump, how you create enough space to hear the tail hit the ground. If you can do that on flat ground, that's the only skill set I've seen that transfers to transitions and banks and stair sets and this and that. Consistently hitting your tail, consistently jumping, and voila, you do the trick. All right, so ollies are super fun, they're super useful, and there's just, you can't go wrong practicing ollies. But if you're the type of guy who wants to start flipping that board, you got Mitchie. We've been practicing pushing in manuals and ollies for the last 3 weeks, and I'm ready. It's time to do kickflips. I want you to focus on the proper skills that will take you far, but you can still work on kickflips. They're not gonna stop you. But the truth is, kickflips are very hard. So don't go around telling yourself that it's easy. Show up to the skate park, try kickflips, and then be really disappointed that they're actually hard. I want you to treat a kickflip like it's an extension of the Ollie Complex. So you can jump and get your foot out of the way and feel the board with your front foot in the air. You can feel it, but you're not pushing on it. It's a very big difference. If I push on it, you can see what happens. It's no good. I just want you to feel it, okay? So we're gonna do 1, 2, 3. And your flick is actually gonna be really light, okay? I want you to develop a motion and a rhythm. I don't want you to develop power first, okay? We're gonna get our front foot out of the way. We're gonna feel that grip tape up against the foot. And my favorite tip recently is I'm gonna try to kick with my big toe and not my pinky toe. You run into issues when you're visualizing the wrong part of your foot doing the work, okay? If I want the bottom of my foot to flip it, then I end up just kick-starting it, which nobody wants that. If I imagine my pinky toe flipping it, it can work, but it's very inconsistent. If I do a couple of ollies to feel the board, and then I flick with my big toe, now I'm having this very intuitive kicking motion that gets the kickflip rolling, okay? This works in tandem with the good habits that we built from the rest of the session. So if you clicked on this video, skip to kickflips, bring it back a notch, and at least do the Ollie Complex, because that leads into this. To create space for the flick, you need to get your front foot out of the way. You get your front foot up and back so it can come through and up. The flick is not down at the ground. The flick is out and into the air, okay? If you're too worried about power, you're gonna miss your line. What I mean by line is check out the couple of flicks I did. Look at how different all these flicks are. I showed you a couple examples of flicking off of the pinky toe, off of the big toe, all this stuff. Look at how much distance that covers on the board. These are all dramatically different strategies. So if I'm going at this full power and missing my spots, that's gonna be pretty crazy how different each kickflip is. So don't worry about it flipping all the way. Just get a consistent, nice flick that's out and into the air. Remember how we landed hippie jumps in all sorts of positions? The reason you don't want to flick down towards the ground is because your board is always going to follow where your front foot goes. So if I kick my front foot down at the ground, you guessed it, board's going down to the ground, okay? The only issue you run into is if you flick into the air, but you just lean back and plant your back foot on the ground. All right, we don't have the luxury of just flying off of the back of the board and getting away with it, okay? We wanna stay over the front. We pick up our front foot inside and super high as we jump. That's a really good kickflip position. Some closing thoughts for kickflips. Don't stress about the landing. Just be ready for it and use your feel to guide the board back to the ground. The trick isn't over when it hits your feet in the air. So you have to be comfortable trying to put the bottom of your foot on the grip tape and then setting the board down no matter what your foot position is. I don't want you to stress so much about landing it that you're reaching for bad kickflips just trying to make one. It should be comfortable and it should be inviting when that board is flipping in the air to use your feet to try to set the board down. That is how I would use a session, especially if I'm a beginner and I want to make sure I'm getting a lot out of my practice. And I don't want to stress about keeping track of 1,000 different skills or super difficult tricks all day. It's easy to show up and have a goal in mind, like, I don't know, front Smith on a rail, and then it's just consuming you. This is what I would do to make sure that I'm staying stable in my progress. I'm making sure I feel my skateboard under my feet every day. Dedicating time to simple skills like manuals and hippie jumps and working on my foot position. Ollies are difficult skill-wise, but they don't have to be too strenuous on your energy. If you find yourself exhausted after a short ollie practice, maybe think about the way you're going about it. Remember to breathe and take it slow. And just because you're trying to get the board to pop into the air doesn't mean that you have to be jumping with like an insane amount of power. Trust that you can get the tail to hit the ground and pop into the air. And I promise, if you can't get the board into the air, it's not because you're not trying hard enough, all right? It's because there's some fundamental issue where maybe you're not creating space or your timing or your balance is off. That doesn't take that much energy to fix. That takes knowledge and daily practice. Great job today. Thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss a video from us ever. We're coming out with a lot of content and we're not stopping, okay? There should be a video right here to click and there should be a video right here to click, okay? Thank you guys. I will see you very soon. Bet you didn't see that coming.